Detroit Den 313 family, welcome back. Steve here. I got another good Detroit Den 313 episode for you. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, this is the place you want to be. Real quick before I get into today's topic about how Brad Holmes pretty much drafted another Pro Bowler, All Pro, possibly Hall of Famer. I'm gonna get into that. But before I do, I'll just say that some of my favorite episodes to talk about. Number one is I love talking Detroit Lions post-game shows when we get a win. Obviously, when we lose, I'm not very happy. My mood is very saunter and depressed. I love talking Detroit Lions games, whether it's recaps with wins, previews, what we need to do to win. And I love talking NFL draft prospects, mock drafts, whatever it may be. I feel like that's my bread and butter. So today I'm going to go back to a little bit of roots. I'm going to be talking some Christian Mahogany out of Boston College, Brad Holmes, 6th-round draft pick 210, and why I think he's going to eventually, not this year, but maybe this year, we'll see. Eventually, I see Pro Bowl written all over this kid. I think when I think of a player from college on the offensive line, out of the 5 offensive linemen that I really liked last year, Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Frazier, Christian Mahogany, not in any order, but I think that they all 3 would have been fantastic fits for the Detroit Lions. When I dive really into Mahogany and his style of play, I think 8 years from now, we're going to be talking about how Brad Holmes did it again. Brad Holmes drafted another Amon-Ra St. Brown, this time in the 6th round and being along the offensive line. Now, I don't see Mahogany playing this year. Our offensive line is absolutely loaded. We got Pro Bowlers with Decker, Sewell, obviously, Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Kevin Zeitler. Like we literally have 5 guys who, if we're not playing on Super Bowl Sunday, all 5 of those guys are going to be playing in the Pro Bowl. I truly feel that. But it's the NFL. It's a big boy business. It's not for long. People get banged up. Injuries happen. If either Zeitler or Graham Glasgow go down and have an injury, maybe they have to miss a game or 2. We've kind of thrown out some names about who could step in, who's going to be competing in training camp for that backup spot to be left guard or right guard. And Mahogany has played both. He's got some versatility. Interiorly, if that's a word, I don't know. I might have just made that up. He's not ever going to play center, but he could play either guard position. And that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable that he has that versatility, kind of like a Graham Glasgow. Graham can play literally anywhere on the offensive line in the middle. I think that's the only difference between Mahogany is you won't ever see him probably playing center unless something absolutely crazy happens. But who's going to be in that mix to come into the game if a Zeitler or a Graham Glasgow goes down? We've talked about Colby Swordsdahl, Coyote Owasika. We've talked about Giovanni Manu, who we don't want to see this year and don't think he'll be ready. He's a monster, but I think he's a project for further down the road, similar to like a Broderick Martin. And the third name is Christian Mahogany. So who's it going to be? It's something that we need to keep an eye on during training camp. Obviously, that offensive line is one of my concerns depth-wise, not starter-wise, but if someone goes down, we have some pieces we can shuffle around. Like if something happens to Decker, we can throw Penei Sewell over at that left tackle spot, and we could just keep on churning along. Interiorly, we have some options as well. I'm not worried. They're just not as sexy of options. When you're taking out Pro Bowlers, like I said, all 5 of those guys are going to be, you're obviously going to get a little bit of a drop-off, but I'm not worried about it like I was. Christian Mahogany, first team All-ACC in 2023, started 12 games at right guard. So he's primarily a right guard, but like I said, he did play some left guard in 2020. Everything that I've looked up about Mahogany, his draft profile uses the word mauler. Does that not fit the Detroit Lions narrative and what we want to do? Run the football down your throat, pass it, set it up with some play action. Like I think he's a perfect fit. Fairly athletic. I won't say he's the most athletic lineman we even drafted. I think that still is Giovanni Manu, but Manu needs to work on some technique, and I think Mahogany is just a little bit more polished. 6'3", 314 pounds, combine speed 5.13, pretty fast for a big man. 5.1 sounds slow, 6'3", 314 pounds, moving 5'1" is pretty quick. 40-yard dash, 32.5-inch vertical jump, 9-inch broad jump, if that means anything to you. I'm not really too worried about that. I do look at the 40-yard dash, just kind of tells me how fast you could pull and how fast you can get to the outside and get around someone from that guard position. But I absolutely love this kid, man. I think I said in our draft recap back in April that he was the steal of the draft for me, and he's not someone who's going to pan out for a couple years. He's going to be someone that hopefully, like I said, pending injury, he just kind of sits on the shelf for a year or two. Let Hank Fraley get his hands on him and work on some technique and some of the finer points of playing offensive line. But I really truly believe Christian Mahogany will be a Pro Bowler. Like I'll go out on a limb and say it on Monday, June 24th. That is the day of recording. I don't know when I'll post this episode. It'll be soon, but that is going to be my take on Christian Mahogany, is that he will be a Pro Bowler. And I was on Twitter today, and I did see a very interesting stat from PFF Detroit, Detroit Lions. If you're not following them, give them a follow. They break down a lot of Detroit Lions players, more specific. If you're familiar with PFF, they kind of do a wide range of mostly NFL. So there is a channel or a page out there that primarily focuses on the Detroit Lions. PFF DET Lions, if you guys want to check them out. Christian Mahogany in 2023, 394 pass blocking snaps, only gave up 7 QB pressures, 0 sacks allowed. What does that tell me? Absolute perfect fit for Jared Goff, because you guys know how I feel about JG. When he's in the pocket, he's lethal. When he has time to make decisions, he's unstoppable. He makes the right decisions. When he's pressured, it's a different story. When he has to scramble, he's not the most athletic. Keep building this offensive line. And like I said, Mahogany is a project for probably 2 or 3 years down the road, depending on injury, depending on development. Where does that leave him with even playing for Jared Goff? We don't know. With the contract, we don't know what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years. If Jared Goff is still going to be in town, if how far that extension really goes, if there's an opt-out, I don't know. But I think that Brad Holmes is building this team, planning for Jared Goff to be the quarterback long-term, longer than 3 to 4 years potentially. So if that's your plan, if that's what you think is the best fit right now, then that could change down the road. Why not keep bolstering that offensive line? It's the strength. Games are won in the trenches. All offseason, I've been saying I wanted the Detroit Lions to have an ugly draft, and I meant that in a good way. It was a little sexier because we took some sexy little corners in the first 2 rounds, and it's Ray Shaw and Taron Arnold. But for the most part, we put some big boys in the trenches. And I am going to talk later about Mekhi Wingo, who I'm doing a little research on. Not ready to put my input out there on him just yet. But I am doing some homework. I'm taking some notes. I'm liking what I see. I'm liking some PFF stuff that I see about Mekhi Wingo. So I'm liking what Brad Holmes is doing in the trenches, guys. I like Mahogany. Let me know what you think. Leave it in the comments. Hit that like button. Stick around. Join this Detroit Den 313 family. We will be back later with another episode.